And I play this fill, and I go, bam! And the whole bass drum just goes over the edge.
Life is great.
Welcome to Knoxcast, Music on Music. I'm trumpeter, composer, vocalist Knox Summerhour, and this is where the world's top musicians, composers, producers, and industry professionals tell us how they've made their way in the world of music for TV, film, video games, stage, studio, and more. Bob Wilson is a Grammy-nominated drummer, songwriter, and founding member of the band Seawind, whose sound defined an era of jazz fusion in the 70s and 80s. They were also the precursor to the Jerry Hay Horns, who have set the bar for rhythm and horn section studio recording for generations. Bob later toured with Billy and Franklin Graham for over 10 years and is currently a producer with the wildly successful music software company Spectrasonics, whose products Omnisphere, Stylus, Keyscape, and more are used every day by A-list music producers and film, TV, and game composers. First of all, I'm really happy that you're here.
I'm happy that I'm here too.
Yeah, praise the Lord for that. I think that what happened a few weeks ago was a miracle to have it happen around a bunch of friends that took care of you.
That's right.
Friends.
It was amazing. Yeah.
Start off, I guess, chronologically is the easiest way to do this. You grew up in Arizona.
Correct.
Tempe.
Yep. Glendale. Yeah.
And now you live in Glendale, almost.
I know. It's amazing.
Growing up in the car or at home, what kind of music was on the radio, or what kind of music did your parents listen to? Because when you're a kid, you have no control over that. So
right,
what did they introduce you to?
It was all big band.
Wow.
My parents loved big band, from Woody's band. Later on, I turned on to Buddy Rich's band and all that. But Artie Shaw, all of these big bands, they grew up. And my mom was a singer, and she would sing out in front of some of these bands, which later on, it was kind of amazing. I was playing in a big band. I was 14 and playing in the Sperry Rand big band, and she was the lead singer. So my dad would take us every Friday night to these different places, and it was a 16-piece big band. It was awesome.
Around Phoenix?
Yeah, around the Phoenix area.
Your mom was a singer with these bands? I had no idea.
Yeah, she would, and so it was kind of amazing. It was like my son's playing drums, and I'm the lead singer, and we got paid like, I don't know, $75.
That's more than you get these days.
I know, yeah.
No, but what kind of venues did your mom sing at with these groups?
They were like dances. You know,
okay.
Back then it would be, I don't want to say ballroom dances, but there were, there'd be like 200 people.
High school? Would they get hired to do high
no,
school
kind
dances?
of an adult.
Oh, wow.
Adult things.
Now the only place I've done those gigs is at the Elks Lodge with the the big band swing dance club. So
right. And that was popular back then.
But I hope it comes back. I mean, it can always come back, because the younger folks like to do swing dance. And
it wasn't like, here's a whole band and it's just people sitting out there listening. They were, but it was dance band stuff.
So we're talking about Bugle Boy.
Yeah,
Boogie
absolutely.
Bugle Boy.
Yeah.
Andrew's sisters.
And we would do Stan Kenton stuff, though, which was kind of out on the edge
at the time, of
Tommy Dorsey.
Right.
Yeah, Tommy Dorsey, Jimmy Dorsey. Oh, Stan Kenton. Well, you could only do a couple of his.
There's too many notes in those chords.
Yeah.
Too many stacks.
What is that?
Yeah.
More than a triad.
Did you start in a concert band, middle school? I know that you played saxophone.
Right. And I was... my dad wanted me to play saxophone. He loved saxophone. So third grade, I started on the recorder. Then that took me to saxophone. And I didn't like saxophone.
But you said you did it all the way through high school, right?
Yeah. I played through high school.
Grudgingly.
Yeah.
Apparently.
But I just wanted to play drums, and
as all drummers do.
That's true. And thankfully, my grade school music teacher was a drummer. And I would always ask him, "Can I play drums?" He'd go, "What? No, you play saxophone. I know, but I
not
don't
cutting
like it. Because every time we'd go to state band tryouts and, getting into the state thing.
Right, all-state band.
Yeah, all-state band, right. It would go, I'd look at my scores and it'd say tone, harsh. There was never one thing that I would go, yeah, I want to
Rhythm,
I want to
good.
keep doing this.
Rhythm,
Great,
excellent.
but tone, harsh.
Did you also play sax? This is a silly question, but maybe not. In church? Or did you play music in church?
No.
No.
The church I grew up in was a Methodist church in Glendale, and it was, liturgical. I mean, we had an organ. It started off, they kind of went, after I'd moved out, I got them an electric, piano and a synth and stuff.
Yeah, cool.
And they started bringing in more stuff. But it was choir, piano, organ. So there was never any.
Methodist, Baptist, they were all at that time probably doing the same thing.
Yeah. You
Piano,
basically
organ.
sang the same hymns over and over again.
Even though there's 600 in the book.
Exactly.
Just put the same.
It's
10
the
up
only
there.
one that the organ player and the
I know,
piano
yeah.
player go, I feel good.
Now, you also went to Arizona State. Why did you choose to go to Arizona State?
Well, I first went to Phoenix Junior College, and I just felt, and it was okay. I went to 1 year of that, and they just didn't have a music. In fact, it was my music professor said, you should go to Arizona State. You're going to have more opportunity to play. And that was being a drummer. I didn't play saxophone doing that. He said, and he was really connected, so he called up and got me into Arizona State. And because all I wanted to do at that point, I wanted to be a music teacher. Because my music teacher, E. Lowell Rogers, was a drummer. I said, man, if he hadn't given me a chance to play drums, I wouldn't have this joy I had. But I wasn't even thinking of being a professional musician. I was going to be a music teacher.
Who was your primary mentor or teacher at ASU? Would you say, or influence?
I can't even remember because I dropped out. Once I
How
realized,
many years or months?
Yeah, this is the second year in college, and then I realized because I'm still playing drums on these dances and that stuff, and all of a sudden when I went, I don't know if I have it in me to, tell kids how to finger a B flat. It's just all of a sudden this is not a joy to me anymore.
No,
I
most
thought
of the
I wanted to be a music teacher,
Right.
but I'm liking playing. And at the time, that was one big thing. While I was at ASU, I was called to play. Henry Mancini did all of these tours that went around. Well, I got the call to do that. And so that really changed my whole projection of what I wanted to do.
So since we're there,
Yeah.
I know a little bit. You've told me a little bit about this story. Tell me about the magical snare drum solo out of necessity with Henry Mancini.
Yeah. Well, everything was going great. I mean, here I'm an 18-year-old kid
In college.
in college.
And you had just started at ASU.
Yeah. And I'm
And
18,
he came through
18
town.
and a half. Yeah. He came down, and it was kind of like the Pops Orchestra.
Okay.
And it wasn't, it was being held at ASU, but it was all professional musicians in the Phoenix area. There might have been a couple of graduates from ASU, but it was like the professional strings, everything. So the concert's going great. I'm just great. I'm up on a riser.
By yourself?
Huh?
By yourself?
Yeah, by myself.
Okay.
And below me is his piano. And he would be playing piano and then conducting, and then
he did
sometimes
both.
he'd stand up and conduct out in front of that. So we're doing Peter Gunn, and I'm playing, and my bass drum is starting to slide forwards. And I go, whoa, I think it's all right. I think I'll be okay.
There's only one more tune, right?
Yeah. And we're playing. I mean, we just started Peter Gunn, and I'm playing pretty strong.
Oh, it is
and
Peter
it's
Gunn.
sliding. Yeah,
Oh,
this is
the tune.
the third encore. And it's sliding forward. I go, oh, it's okay. Well, it wasn't okay. It started sliding further and further forward until I'm going, oh, no. I'm basically, one spur goes off the edge of my riser.
Yeah.
And I'm up 8 feet in the air now. And then the other one starts sliding up. And I'm basically holding my bass drum on with my foot on the bass drum pedal. And there was a 2-bar drum fill at this one point, and I go, I have to play the kick drum, the bass drum. I got to play it. I have to punch this thing.
Yeah.
And he is out now. He's standing up, conducting, and there is about a 3-foot space between my riser and the piano. So it's not like the piano's not right up against it, but it's there. And he's conducting and everything, and my 2-bar drum break comes, and I play this fill, and I go, bam, with the bass drum, and the whole bass drum just goes over the edge. And I just went, there were so many conflicting and just crazy feelings at the time. I went, oh my gosh, my career is over.
Onto the piano?
No, it fell in between
Oh, okay.
that space.
Wow.
He is still, now we're not done
Did
because
it
we
fall
got
like-
another probably 24 bars until the song is ended. And he's conducting, and what he does, the whole bass drum goes down, cymbal sticks up in the air, everything. He's conducting, and he just bends down and is looking underneath the piano. Now, there's 3,000 people at Granny, and they are just screaming. This was like the best show. This was awesome. To me, I just wanted to crawl in
They
a
all
hole and
noticed
die.
what had happened?
Yeah.
And they were excited.
They saw the whole thing go
They thought it
off.
was part of the thing, probably.
I guess.
Part of the show.
But I thought, well, I'm done. And so the show's over. They're just laughing and they're coming with everything. That's a way to end a show to me. And I'm, I'm never going to get a call again. And so I feel bad. I want to go up to Mr. Mancini and say, man, I'm sorry that went off. And I never did get to go up to him and talk to him. So now we have to jump 20 years.
Okay.
And I'm in Hawaii, and Henry Mancini is coming to do another concert there with the band there. And I say, I know some musicians in the band, and I say, I want to go to rehearsal. I have to talk to him, Mr. Mancini. And I get in there, and so I find there's a break, and I go, Mr. Mancini, I don't know if you remember, it was about 20 years ago, and this was a concert in Phoenix, Arizona, and he said, you're him. And he said,
You're the guy.
I have told that story all over the world. I've never had that happen to me again, but it was great.
After serving and playing drums in the Navy, Bob moved to Hawaii to work in the hotel and lounge shows where he met bassist Ken Wilde and later singer Pauline Wilson and a young trumpeter Jerry Hay, where they formed what would later be known as Seawind. Here's He Loves You, music and lyrics by Bob Wilson.
Listen to our laughter with children in love. We were brought together by the good Lord up above. We're singing songs and melodies of love for you. Just listen with all your heart, and you can sing them too.
A lot of Seawind songs deal with spiritual, theological, eternal topics. Not always your typical romance
Right.
love song.
Right.
I love you, why don't you love me?
Right.
Or the even
Right.
Romantic topics. Was that a conscious decision, number one? And two, was there ever any pushback from any label regarding all this religious speak?
It wasn't a conscious decision in meaning, oh, I want to write this style. It's just who I was.
Because you were the main songwriter.
I was the main songwriter. I
Seawind.
wrote 90% of the stuff. So
Lyrics too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it was it's just my life, what was going on. And I would write hope. I always wanted it hopeful. And yet I knew, it wasn't like being a Christian band because
Sure, yeah.
not everybody was a believer in the band.
Yeah, it seems
But
like a fine
everybody
line there.
was all for it. Our first big thing, off the first album, the song that really catapulted us was "He Loves You," and it's a Latin, and it's all about God loving us. But in terms of pushback, yeah,
Was there?
we were on the second album, and we went from CTI, or maybe this is the third album, and I wrote this song called "Hallelujah, I'm Alive Again," and it was just kind of it had a great groove, and that's what would happen. I think a lot of people go, man, this is a funky, I can't put my finger on this. This is kind of swamp gospel. Had that kind of swing about it, but fat back kind of thing. And then in it was just about an old man is at the end of his life. And he gets down to his end of his life and he goes, I saw Jesus. Well, I got a call back, or, our agent said, hey, listen, there's some concern about that. And the record company, which was a Horizon A&M subsidiary, was wondering if you could take out the name of Jesus and put in Lord or something like that. I said, no. Well, we thought to ask because they're afraid that, and by the time, this is our third album.
You guys have some clout.
There's already acceptance of who we are.
They knew.
So, but they were just afraid, and of course I spoke up. I mean, I wanted to see what the other people that aren't believers in the band, how they said, and they went, no, we're not changing that. And then they looked at me. I said, no, I'm not, won't change that. But you get a pushback. But there was a thing of, I don't have to be afraid about this. I'm not. We loved, because at this time we were opening for George Benson, Boz Scaggs. We were doing those same songs. Not a lot of, The Devil is a Liar.
Right.
That's the gospel.
That's
when that first came out, and it got nominated for a Grammy.
And give me your soul if you dare. Don't you believe? You've been deceived. You're playing with fire. Cause the devil is a liar. Don't you believe? You've been deceived. You're playing with fire. Cause the devil is a liar. You promise you all his kingdoms of gold. Then he'll leave you standing alone in the cold. He'll trick you and tease you, entice, and then leave you a fool. The devil's done a number on you. The devil's done a number on you, yeah. The devil's done a number on you, child. The devil's done a number on you.
So we were all in a meeting, said, we're going to do a route move. We're leaving Hawaii, cars, families, houses, everything, moving to L.A. on the promise of having a Monday night at the Baked Potato, and that was it. And we all
Had you
went,
been there before?
No.
What had you heard about the Baked Potato?
We knew all about it.
Right.
You know, that and Dante's. There was Concerts by the Sea.
What had you heard about the Baked Potato living in
It was just
Hawaii?
That's where everybody played.
Right.
You know, those were kind of Dante's, Baked Potato, and Concerts by the Sea. You were going to see major stars, musicians there.
Right.
And a lot of local people played at the Baked Potato and Dante's. Howard Rumsey's Concert by the Sea would bring in Hubert Laws and all of these things. So we said, okay, and we moved there, and now we've changed our name to Seawind. So that first night, I can remember going inside this tiny little, oh man, shoe cracker size of a club, and going,
played
this
there
is
once.
it?
Yeah, with big band. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
But you guys had almost a big band.
Yeah, there were 7 of us.
Yeah.
And, multiple, Jerry had electronic trumpet, and there was congas. Kim played congas and stuff. Whole percussion array that Pauline played. We had no idea who would be there. And so we had sound check, and then came back that night and going, well, we don't know if anybody will be here. And there was a line outside the door that went around. I go, what? Who's this? Well, Harvey had done all of his due diligence, and there was Dave and Don Gruson. There was Tom Scott. There was Lee Rittenauer, who played on Tuesday nights.
Oh, wow.
With his band. There was every producer, musician you could think of that you went, my gosh, that's Tom Scott. John Guerin was there, and he was another favorite drummer of mine. So it was very intimidating. We just go, well, we're just going to do what we do.
Yeah.
And we're eclectic, and yet it's funky, and yet we would stretch out. And it was kind of at that perfect time, kind of real different for the music scene here. Well, it turned out great. The manager and the owner, Shelley, said, you want to play next Monday? And so basically we played every Monday night for a year and a half. And then all of us from that night were asked to do sessions.
Sure, yeah. You had talked about or told me that was a great time to move to LA.
Yeah.
Tell me, I guess why that was at that time a great time to move here.
Well, there was so much recording going on at different levels. There was the A-team that were getting all the high-end jobs from movie, records, TV. B, things that were doing a little of that, not as much, but you could make a good living if you were a C, I'm just getting here.
Sure, yeah.
And there were demos. I need a demo. Okay. I have a band. It didn't pay a lot, but you're getting exposure. And it was amazing. Now, we were so fortunate, so blessed, because what I did, I would get Harvey's jobs that he didn't want. He'd just say, Bob, I got this session I can't make. You fill in for me. And you go, okay.
For someone who's living here today in the media capital of the world still, or is thinking about moving here. They're in college or they're maybe in high school, but more likely in college and thinking about moving to LA to pursue film music, film composer, or they want to get hooked up with a tour, or they want to do what you did. What would your advice be?
Well, know that you're going to have perseverance, and you have to be persistent. You can't give up because there's going to be hurdles that are going to come up. And if that passion is burning of the gift of music that you wanted to be a part of, then you have to really take a look. How can I promote myself? That's what you're looking for. And back when we came here in the early 70s, or mid 70s, I should say, there was so much work. There just was. You could, like I say, you could make a living. Now it's not even a third. There is no recording business like there was. But you still have to do the same thing now as you did then. You have to meet people. You got to hang. There has to be a hang factor. One really big thing now today is having social media and YouTube. And we could sit here and talk about how many bands or artists that started off just doing, I have a song I wrote and I put it on YouTube. And all of a sudden you get all of these things globally. And that's not just here in LA,
Right.
but that's globally. So it is utilizing all the technology that's available. And I always think, always do your best work that you possibly can do. Don't go, well, I'm just going to try to, I'll put something out there. Because basically it's the same thing. You have one shot normally of people that are going to go, I like him, I don't like him. What else has he got? Or I'm not interested.
Do you think that is 100% based on your performance, or how much of it do you think is... They say that sociologists say that we look at each other within 10 seconds. We know if we like someone.
Exactly.
Is it... So you mentioned the personal factor and the hang factor.
Yeah.
Is that why that's important? Because there's more to a person than just their performance, even if they're great.
Absolutely. And it's how, if you're going to, whatever it is, if you're going to be a film composer, go to where film composers are. If you want to be a jazz musician, go to every jazz club you can, hang out, and because they're people want to hang with people that are likable. Very rarely do you get someone who is an amazing musician or amazing performer or composer like that no one likes. That's just, I can't be with him. It is hard. But you still have to, the love of what you have, whether it be composing, being a performer, songwriter, anything, that has to be shown. That has to be put in its best light. And then you start talking about, well, what's the best way to present myself in today's market? The biggest thing is you just don't give up.
Don't give up.
It's hard. It's hard. But and there'll be so many hurdles you go, I'm not making a living here. And everybody has to take stock, because as the years go by, your life can change.
Sure, yeah.
To point, I've got
the family,
I've got more responsibility. And only the individual person can answer and that family that you're a part of, wife, kids, responsibilities. I can't let that dream die. And you have to have support. That's one thing that made it so much easier for us when we came here. Like I said, we're a family, and we supported each other. And you were doing life together. It's harder when you're by yourself and you're getting beat up, and you go, how can I just need some encouragement. That's what it is.
Do you think there's an active, I sometimes go back and forth, is there an active outside factor, or is there a they that's kind of beating you down, or is it kind of a voice inside yourself that when you're alone beats yourself up too much?
Oh, I think it's I think sometimes our worst enemy is us. That we'll start listening to voices in our head that are just going, well, you don't have it, or you get resentment. You're mad. You get mad at everybody else for, I should be here. I should be doing that, not this guy like that. You get caught up in that,
Right.
you're toast.
For all the freelancers out there, when business gets slow, you touched on this a little bit, but just to ask you specifically, when business got slow or gigs were slow coming in, it seemed like nothing in the schedule book was full. It was a little empty. The cupboard was a little bare there. What was your recourse or strategy, or what did you fall back on? Or was it a network of folks that you fell back on, or was it to get things going again, either creatively or in a business sense?
Right. Well, the one thing that I always did, because there was a time there where all work just stopped for me. This is post Seawind. This is everything. We don't have money. I can't find a job.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
And so I had two choices. I could say, all right, I can feel sorry for myself and become bitter. And why don't people know who I am? What's going on here? Me being from my faith side of things, I was in prayer a lot. Just, God, show me where I'm supposed to be if this isn't it. And so my choice was, I love songwriting. It's a passion of mine. Has nothing to do with making a living. That's just expression. And if the only people that get to hear it are my family and close friends, that's okay. Because it's a completedness of me. But I had to go down and I got a temp job to bring money in. I didn't put my music dreams away, or what's the next step in playing or songwriting. And man, I was a file clerk for 3 months. And I'd never done anything like that. I went, oh, what do you do? I mean, and it was prideful, and especially when the person said, everybody knows you're a temp, so that's not your real job. And they go, hey, what were you doing? I'm a musician. Oh, yeah. Would I have heard anything? And I said, well, I had a band, Seawind. They're my favorite band. And I'm standing in front, and I'm a temp job. And you could see the look on his face. What happened? You have to be able to go, okay, having work or not work doesn't define who I am. And that's a big mistake people make. And it can take people in depression, and there's been people that have committed suicide because they couldn't stand that pain of feeling like they're being rejected. Now, I had a choice when that guy said, whoa, that's my favorite band, and kind of gave me a look like, what happened? I had a choice to just feel sorry for myself or go, you know what? I'm thankful for this $221 that I'm bringing home every week. That allows me to have peace and still write my music. That hopefully someday in a different venue, or it's just me, but that's my release, is I get to keep being a musician. And so it really is, how do you react to and it's going to happen.
The slow time,
the negative time. And it may be, I've lost everything, where you have to go, I got to get another job. I have to get what we call a real job.
Well, this happened with Scott Mayo. If you listen to his episode, it was even for a longer period, I think.
Yeah.
And it was in part a conscious decision for him, but there was definitely a period there where he wasn't doing music.
And it's hard because your whole life, and like Scott and me and anybody else, your identity, you say, well, my identity, I'm Bob Wilson, former co-founder, member of Seawind. I'm a drummer, I'm a songwriter. Yeah, that's part of it, but that's not who you are.
But I heard Ravi Zacharias say, who you are determines what you do. It's not the other way around.
Exactly. That's perfectly said.
Bob wanted to share with you this new composition of his, soon to be released in full form, featuring Justo Almario on flute and yours truly on flugelhorn. So you had a little down period where you weren't doing music. And
Right.
then Billy Graham called.
Well, and it was, like I said, I've been praying, and I knew some musicians that it was actually for Franklin Graham.
Was that Samaritan's Purse?
No, this was before. Well, it was, but it
Precursor.
wasn't. It was pre that.
Precursor.
He just started. So they said, hey, we've got a couple dates, and I forget what it was, across the country. You want to come do this? And then that turned into probably about 12 years worth. The drummer was sick, and he just had to take some personal time off, and they said, you want to be part of the band? I
And
said,
that was a BGEA.
yeah,
And was that around the world?
around the world.
Wow.
All over. And so, again, that was an answer to prayer. It was great.
It sounds like you've had a lot of great experiences on the road.
Tremendous experience.
Yeah.
That whole Tommy Coombs band, all those people are still dear friends of mine, and we put a lot of miles on and just had a blast and fun. But at one time, you kind of go, gee, this is a lot. And we made that decision. I just made the decision, now that we have a daughter, I'm 50, I don't want to be gone that long and not see her grow. I'm an older father, you know. But, and there was prayer about that. And in the while I'm doing that, that was Eric Persing, who had been a lifelong friend, and we did sessions together all the time. Started his
He was
company.
an engineer
Synth programmer.
before he
Yeah.
created his own company.
Right.
So tell folks, transitioning into that area, you were doing it already, but Eric Persing, who founded Spectrasonics, who they publish Stylus, Omnisphere, all of these, Keyscape as of last year, which I saw last year at NAMM, demonstrated by Stevie Wonder. That was great.
Right.
Thank you, Bob, for the ticket to that. What I didn't know it would be a Stevie Wonder show, but it was. So, tell us, how you came in contact with Spectrasonics, which at that time probably wasn't called that.
Yeah, it was. Eric called me and said, "I'm thinking about." He'd already done the sample CDs of Bass Legends
From the house we are
in the
currently.
house we're in right now, and Marcus Milner, John Patitucci,
Wow.
who was a friend of ours from Orange County, when he was a kid and all, and then Abraham Laborio.
They all
And
came
Eric
here. They would
started
come
that.
here and
They're all
record.
from here.
Or just
They
record
lived here.
loops, single notes.
Single notes, some phrases, but not a lot.
Right.
Started that, and basically, it was kind of like Eric was also a consultant for Roland and doing all that. Well, after he did Bass Legends, and kind of go, well, I think we can do this. I think we could do this as a business. Anyway, I knew he was doing all that stuff, but he had an idea to do a drum library. And he called me up and said, "Hey, you know what? Would you co-produce a drum library, sample CD library, Stylus?" And so it was myself, Greg Bissonette, John Ferraro, Eric Bozeman, to start off, and we just played all kinds of styles, and that was it. And he said, "I'm going to teach you how to edit waveforms." And so I would be editing waveforms on a computer as I'm traveling with
Billy
Franklin
Graham.
Graham.
Oh, wow.
I was doing that when we went to Peru. I did that in South Africa. I'm just, okay, I've got this, and I have this load. When I'd come back in, I'd give him that.
Was that from a laptop?
Yes,
Okay.
from a laptop. And he gave me a laptop to work with. And I went, though, this is great. And I got paid for it. And it was another thing that I was learning, which that was a great thing. And so
Because that was where everything was headed anyway.
Yeah, and you could see it.
You could see it.
And it, his company, I mean, it took off. Bass Legends, just everybody went crazy for it. And he's such a genius at sound design. And the drum thing was great. And then at one point, he and his wife, Lori, said, "Hey, can we come talk to you guys?" And this is after Rachel, and we've been praying, what are we going to do? I don't want to be gone that much. And Eric and Lori Persing said, "We're here to offer you something. We need you full time."
So, Bob, given where the music industry is, where do you think it's going? And, of course, you're not making albums yourself, but you're around all these people coming in and coming into your company, using your tools to do so. That's what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's who your products are for, it seems.
Yeah.
And the self-produced musician, it's easier to do now than ever. Where do you think it's going? Has YouTube and Facebook and social media just leveled out the world as far as making it flat? The opportunity is everywhere, and doesn't matter where you live. Does it? I'm asking.
Absolutely. I think it is like a leveler, because it used to be, unless you lived in L.A. or New York, later on Nashville, or if you were in France or somewhere, international, that was going to be the only place. You were not going to be heard if you lived in Glendale, Arizona. Mm-hmm. Wasn't going to happen. You had to move to the big city. Now, that no longer is the landscape, because we've seen it many times where there'll be people sitting in their bedroom and, a young lady has a guitar and she's singing a song and she's putting it out, and all of a sudden, she has 1 million views.
This is happening
big.
with every discipline. I mean, cake baking.
Yes.
There's people with millions of subscribers
Exactly.
that are baking cakes.
Yeah.
And I think it's great in a way. I think the industry still seems to be based here, at least the suits and the executives,
right,
and the money. So I mean, if you look at YouTube, they just built a big filming studio over in Playa Vista, which I was there 2 months ago for this to be part of a music video shoot for this online music video contest that YouTube did. And so I don't. It seems like still the industry is still here.
And it
in
will.
a way.
Well, and especially when you say in total, because you can do that as a performer, but if you're a film composer, you got to be where film composers are. I mean, you've got to be in that. You could write and you can put your ideas. Here's a film kind of score, and get some notoriety. But you still got to come and be a part of the scene in terms of that. But there's been people that have, as performers, that have gained so much. And, the problem is, you look how many record companies have gone under that no longer make records because no one buys records anymore. So the supply and demand is just, that is, YouTube and streaming have taken that out. It just has. People don't go, well, you're going to go buy a CD? No. The new millennials my daughters don't buy CDs,
Well, the good part is there's a lot of competitors, and you can distribute your music simultaneously to all of them. And you just, whichever one survives, your music will still be there, Apple Music or
there is an outlet,
Google Music.
And that's the most important thing. I don't think anything is better than a collaboration, and it is heartbeat playing with another heartbeat. You can't. I love to be sitting in and writing, and there's a part of that that's neat. But the joy I get is having someone sitting next to me or out on a stage or
trading
just
floors.
Trading
the best
floors.
part of any, besides chamber music and the classical side, for me, my favorite thing to do is to trade with, around it on a standard or other jazz tune. So
that's the joy. That's communication. You're not isolated going, okay, I'm by myself. Because I think music, that gifting needs to be shared, not only with an audience, but then because when you're playing off each other, now you've done it enough to go, wow, I wouldn't have risen to that level if I hadn't been playing with that other person who really encouraged me and spurred me on. I've never gone to that place before.
Right, and that's why we do it.
That's why. It's the love of communicating musically with each other. And it's amazing.
Bob, thank you for communicating with me.
Oh, buddy, thank you.
For this podcast.
Thank you.
I appreciate you letting me come over.
You bet. Awesome, buddy.
Knoxcast is brought to you by yours truly. I got more great interviews lined up with some really prolific and fantastic friends, so please subscribe to Knoxcast on iTunes, Stitcher, and follow me on Twitter at TrumpetKnox for podcast updates. You are by my side with me. Stay tuned and stay musical. Today